We're back for your ears only. I'm Melissa Exelberth.
I'm David Alpern with this quote from the news. Our mentality, turning away from the Bolshoi's tradition, is like betraying your homeland, simultaneously treachery and espionage. That was Anatoly Iksanov, general director of Moscow's Bolshoi Ballet, after a shocking acid attack on former dancer Sergei Filin, now artistic director, during a debate over broadening beyond the famed company's classical tradition. Now this.
Je rêvais, j'espérais, j'attendais. C'est peut-être vous que j'attendais.
From the trailer for Children of Paradise, the 1945 French film set amid the Parisian theater scene in the early 1800s. The film, directed by Marcel Carné, was shot during the German occupation of France in World War II and follows the story of a beautiful courtesan, Garance, and the four men who love her, a mime artist, an actor, a criminal, and an aristocrat. These four were all based on real people of the period, most notably the famous French mime Jean-Baptiste Gaspard de Bureau.
Now this famous film about live theater inspires live theater. Opening this week off-Broadway in New York, the stage version of Children of Paradise focuses on the real-life mime de Bureau, not his fictionalized counterpart in the film. And on the line to discuss both versions, for your ears only, is the stage version's writer, director, and octogenarian star mime, Richmond Shepard. Welcome to our show.
Thank you.
Let's start with the film.
By the way, the mime talks also.
Well, you know, I only thought of that at the last minute. Is he going to answer our questions in mime? Thank God. Thank you. Let's start with the film that inspired your play. Shot during the German occupation of France, as we said. How was it the Nazis allowed this film to be made?
They had conquered France. They had conquered Paris. And the Germans decided that they were going to show the world that they are not going to totally destroy French culture. And they said to the French film industry, you can make a movie, we'll pay for it. And the movie, they said it can't be political. So the French people said, well, let's do a historical drama about a man who lived in the early 1800s. The Germans said, go ahead. It was a glimpse of Deburau, who was the first man ever to play Pierrot, in the white flowing costume as the leading man instead of Harlequin in the diamonds and triangles, who was always the mischief maker who came out ahead. And Pierrot was always the poor guy who fell in love and loved the moon and the stars, and things always happened to him. It's classic in comedy, comedy duos. One is the mischief maker, and one is the poor slob that things happen to. And that was Pierrot and Harlequin until Deburau played Pierrot.
The film's creative team had Jews secretly working on it. Was that a subtle message of defiance? Were there other anti-Nazi messages in the movie?
Well, there were no anti-Nazi messages in it. However, what they did was they put all the resistance fighters to work in the movie. Half of them were communists. They were all fighting the Nazis, and as the film went on, they kept adding scenes when their friends who were actors would come to town. So it's a 3.25-hour film. It was so expensive, and took over a year to shoot. They started in 1941. That the Germans never allowed another film to be made in France during their whole occupation of France.
And why did you choose to base your play on the real-life Deburau rather than the film itself?
Well, I've been a mime a long time, and I've been mime. I'm 83. I've been a mime for over 60 years. And one of the things that inspired me to become a mime was seeing, in my early 20s, the film Children of Paradise. And I thought, wow, what an interesting character! What a romantic thing to be, a mime. All the girls will like me, and through the years, some of them have. In fact, I've been married to a couple of mimes. Although, thank goodness, I have 4 daughters. None of them became mimes. Although one of them is a well-known singer, Richmond Shepard, who did the music for Ally McBeal.
Ah.
But she's a terrific mime. She doesn't like that I would say that, because she would never do it.
Besides an engaging and entertaining experience, what do you hope the audience takes away from the version that's your play?
The play that I'm doing, I call it Children of Paradise, obviously, because the title is known. I did it in L.A. 40 years ago where I played the lead, and I called it Pierrot, The Life of Deborah, but this is a better title. What they come away with is something they'd never experienced before, actual mime plays. We had an audience of young people in the theater the other night, and I said, do you have any questions? And one girl said, well, how can a guy who stands on the street doing mime have become so famous? I said, well, because what we do is mime theater with costuming, with music behind it, with lighting. It's not a guy standing on the street making a wall or even one man on the stage chasing a butterfly. This is theater. It's just we don't speak during it. Now, my play, there's plenty of speaking, because it's a play, but we do recreate 3 of the actual Deborah Rose actual mime pieces, some of which were actually shown in the movie, especially the old Clothes Man, one of his most famous pieces. It's famous partly because of how interesting it is, but also because it has an unhappy ending, which you're not supposed to do. Most antique mime pieces end with everybody on the stage dancing.
How do you see mime fitting into the ever-changing world of multimedia, digital entertainment? How does it play to the younger generation of online content watchers and game players?
For performers of any kind, the training in mime is excellent. The Los Angeles Civic Light Opera hired me for 6 years to teach their singers to communicate physically as well as vocally. So it should be vital, but it's not taught here at all, anywhere. They teach stage movement in some of the acting schools, but they don't teach mime. What you get out of it in mime, in a real mime show or mime pieces, is a different way of communicating, the possibility of communicating physically. I've performed in the last few years in Shanghai, China, Armenia, this last year in Istanbul, in Berlin. Mime is the universal language.
Writer-director and mime Richmond Shepard, his stage version of Children of Paradise, plays at the Theater for the New City, 151 First Avenue in Manhattan, through February 24th.
A quote from the news: "Let's not have another war on this matter." That was Kirsten England, chief executive of the City Council in York, England, which is seeking the remains of King Richard III, recently discovered where he fell in battle in Leicester. The two towns' rivalry dates back to Britain's 30-year War of the Roses.
Next, the Beatles are back, as seen by their favorite photographer, for your ears only.